Okay, we are going to be doing a basic rebuild today on a fuser. This is from a Toshiba eStudio 556. And we're going to be rebuilding it today. We're going to be replacing the heat roller and the pressure roller. And so let's go ahead and get started. First thing we're going to be doing is removing this top part here. There's two screws here on top that are black in color. And if you look closely there in the felt, you'll be able to see that there is a little arrow pointing directly at that screw. Just take those two screws out and the top will come off. And this has the, as you can see this has the cleaning web in it. And we will be changing that as well. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and take the front and rear covers off of this. We'll start with this cover here. There's a screw on top. Oop. And then there's a screw at the bottom underneath here. And then this cover just slides off. And you'll need to note that this hole in the cover here goes over this shaft. So when you're putting it back on, it fits over it like that. Alright, on the other end, let's just go ahead and turn this around. I'm going to take this front cover off. Also, just two screws. And the front cover just slides off. Alright, now on the front cover here, we're going to go ahead and disconnect this front connector here. And go ahead and very carefully pull these wires out here, and we're just going to pull this connector out of this front sensor. And then you just need to pop this wire holder here. Pull these wires out of the way. Alright. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and take this cover here off. Now this cover here, the second screw is actually here on this side, right here. And then once you have that screw out, simply take this front cover and slide it off and guide the wires out. And this will allow you to remove the core of the fuser. Okay, now that we have the IH coil out, you're going to need a pair of ring pliers, because we need to remove this E-ring right here. So just put them in there and get a grip, remove the E-ring. And you'll need to do it on the other side. There's one on each side, of course. Now this one, just need to make sure that you hold on to it. There we go. And now, up till now, we haven't reduced the tension on the springs, but we're going to do that now, because otherwise you still won't be able to remove the heat roller from the fuser, because the pressure is still on the rollers, so they're actually still engaged. You can see that this one will still turn even if I'm turning the pressure roller. So easiest way to do this would be with a screw gun or some type of electric drill. But basically, your two springs right here need to have the tension released from them. So there's a screw on top of it. Just go ahead and let that screw out. Now you don't want to take it completely out, so once the tension is off, you can stop. But you do have to do it on both sides. There we go. And now, with the tension released, you can slide the heat roller out of the bearings and remove it from the fuser. Alright, the next thing we need to do is to get the pressure roller out. That is the lower roller in the fuser. And as you can see, with both of these sides up, there's pretty much no way to remove the roller. So what you're going to have to do, what we need to do first, is remove one of the bearings. Now the bearings are held in place by a screw in each side that locks the flange of the bearing down. So we're going to need to remove those screws at this point. And remove the bearing. Just slide it out. You'll notice that there is a notch in the bearing flange. You want to make sure that that notch is placed around this screw post when you're installing the bearing. Okay, now at this time, I'm going to turn the device this way, and there's a screw on each side. We're going to remove these screws. And as you can see, this side drops down. Now, if you are also going to be replacing your lower thermistor, your lower pressure roller thermistor, it's right here in this doorway. As you can see right here. Now you can remove that by taking this screw out, removing this cover, and then you can take the screw out that holds the thermistor in place right here, and it simply connects to the coupling right here. And then you could remove the thermistor, replace it with a new one, and put everything back together, and then simply reconnect the coupling. And that is your pressure roller thermistor. Now what we're going to do on the other side, now on this side we're also going to drop this side, but the screws are on the ends. They're facing outwards on the ends. This one right here and this one right here. So you would simply remove those screws. And this side will also drop down. Now once you have both sides dropped down, you have the bearing out of the end. You simply raise this side here, let it stay up, lift up your pressure roller on this end, and then slide the whole thing out. Okay, now that we have the frame stripped down to this point, we're ready to put our new pressure roller in. We're just going to be reusing the inserts and the bearings that we have, as long as they're not damaged. You know, of course you want to check your bearings, see how they spin, and check the inserts to make sure they're not cracked or chipped or broken. But if they look good, this is kind of an emergency in the field. We're not doing a complete rebuild, just making sure that the pressure roller and the heat roller are changed so that we can get the fuser back up and running. So just simply reinsert your new pressure roller, and make sure you get the bearings down in the cradle. And then we can go ahead and put our sides back. Now when you're putting this side back up, you want to be a little careful of your flag right here, because it does float in this groove that it's mounted in. So you want to be a little careful of it when you're closing it up. We'll put our screws back in. You want to make sure all your gears are fully engaged. Alright. Then next we're going to go ahead and replace our bearing on the front of the fuser. Sorry, you can go ahead and close this off also. There you go. And remember to make sure that your notch is centered on this screw post here. And then replace your locking screws. And at this point, go ahead and get your new heat roller, and you're going to be sliding the end with the notch in first. Now, you also want to make sure, as you're installing it, that you don't catch your thermistors and bend them up. So as you push it in, you want to make sure that your thermistors are in the proper position. There we are. And you should probably do the rear first. And you want to make sure that you get your main drive gear back on. Just simply rotate your heat roller to the point where the notches slip in. And you'll be able to see that there's a notch, a built-up notch on the gear that will slide into the notch on the heat roller. Now, one thing you can do here to help get this all mounted back in there so that it won't slide around on you is get the heat roller placed so that the notches for your rings are in the place they need to be, are in the right position. Because at this point, you can take a screwdriver and go ahead and add a little tension onto your springs. Don't screw them all the way down, just add enough tension. You don't want to put a whole lot of tension on them because if the fuser has to sit a while before it's placed into a machine, you don't want it to create flat spots on your pressure roller. So you don't want to put too much, you don't want to put full pressure back on your springs until you're ready to reinsert the fuser into a copier. But this will definitely help, because if you go ahead and put a little bit of pressure back on your springs, then when it comes time to place these E-rings back on, your heat roller won't move. So as you can see, you can push on your heat roller now and the roller won't slide out of your way. So I always do this end first. And what I do is I go ahead and I put the E-ring in with the rings, the pins at holes at the bottom. I think it's a little easier, but you know, this is you'll have to find what works best for yourself. And squeeze them open and get it onto the roller. There we go. Now, one thing that's very important is make sure it is actually seated. Go ahead and either use a screwdriver or your hand, but I would be careful if you're using your hand. But make sure that it is in the groove. You don't want this to not be seated correctly and pop off and either have it possibly cause some type of electrical problem by grounding parts out that shouldn't be touching, or this drive gear is going to come off and shatter. So you want to be careful with making sure that your E-ring is properly seated. But we have that one on there now. Go ahead and apply the other one to the front. And once again, double check work. Make sure that that ring is properly seated all the way around. Like I said, if it was to come off, it could cause serious damage within your fuser. And we are properly positioned. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is reinsert our core. This is our IH coil. Proper way to reinsert it is to make sure that your two single cables are on the left and your double cable is on the right. Slide it into the back. And on the back, make sure that it is properly in the mount, because these brackets are what hold the core centered in the roller. There we go. On the other end, we're going to replace the front bracket. And go ahead and feed your cables through the front holes. And remount your bracket. Now you will need to make sure that you lift up on the core to get the core properly seated. And then make sure that the bracket itself is properly mounted by making sure that it is that the nubs are in the proper holes. Now take your smaller gray cables, which are your motor cable and your sensor cable. Put them back in the wire clamp. Go ahead and reconnect them. It is sometimes easier to go ahead and plug in the sensor connector first. And of course, make sure that your motor is connected. Here we are. Okay, now we can go ahead and put this front cover back on. Now when you're putting this front cover back on, what you want to do is you might have to lift up your motor and sensor cables a little bit to get them to slide over and fit properly in the front cover. Make sure that your hole goes over this gear shaft, and then you can place the 2 screws on it. And we can go ahead and put this rear cover on. Now remember, make sure that you don't pinch the wire for your sensor down here. I've seen sometimes a lot of people route it over this shaft to help keep it out of the way, and that's fine. Just make sure it doesn't get caught. Then slide this cover on. Now you would go ahead and put your top back on. Now it is important to note that when you're putting your lid back on, that this part goes over the front cover and actually fits down, and this shaft actually fits down into this groove. And then place your two black screws back in the top. There we go. And you are finished. That is a basic, very basic swap on your heat roller and your pressure roller without changing anything else. If you're in the field and you come across a situation where your rollers have been damaged and you need to change them, then that's all you need to do, is what we just did to get those two rollers out and to get them replaced. To do a complete rebuild, please watch the other videos that go with this set. The complete set show a total rebuild of this unit. So thank you, and I hope this video was helpful, and you'll check the rest of them out. Have a great day.